Imagine the scene. It's a quiet Wednesday after the hubbub of entering Jerusalem, Jesus cleansing the temple, and the general hustling preparation for Passover. There stands a man on a side street hidden from plain view. His name is Judas, specifically Judas Iscariot. He is known as a thief. In fact, Scripture relates in both John and Matthew that Mary, the sister of Lazarus, and Martha had taken expensive perfume and anointed Jesus' feet and wiped his feet with her hair. Then Judas objected and said, "Why wasn't this perfume sold for 300 denarii and given to the poor?" He didn't say this because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief. He was in charge of the money bag and would steal part of what was put into it. Matthew does tell it a bit differently, indicating that the disciples in general were indignant at the perceived waste. But a key piece to this is that it happened about 6 days before the Passover, while the chief priests had been meeting to kill Jesus. They just hadn't worked out the details. Only 3 years earlier, Judas had met Jesus and followed him. He probably hoped that Jesus was the Messiah and would overthrow the Roman government and begin a new world order. He is struggling now, though. He may still wonder about Jesus being the Messiah, but Jesus isn't acting like the Messiah Judas wanted him to be. He didn't ride a mighty war horse in to conquer Jerusalem. He rode a white donkey into the city. Judas thought things were getting more intense when Jesus overturned the tables in the temple courtyard. But Jesus didn't condemn Rome. Instead, Jesus condemned the very foundations of faith practice that Judas had grown up with. Judas knew he had to do something about the situation. He only had one option in his mind. He went to the chief priests and became a spy to betray the man he followed for 3 years. Matthew chapter 26, verses 14 through 16 says, "Then one of the 12, the man called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and said, 'What are you willing to give me if I hand him over to you?' So they weighed out 30 pieces of silver for him. And from that time, he started looking for a good opportunity to betray him." We don't know exactly what the worth of that 30 pieces of silver was, because we don't know exactly what kind of silver coin was used. It could have been $20 to $400, or probably the lesser is more accurate. In any event, Judas promised to turn Jesus over to the chief priests for a pittance. He was looking for a quick score and probably to cover his own hide. Some have said that he was hoping to provoke Jesus into becoming the Messiah he wanted him to be. Whatever he wanted, he missed the boat. Jesus isn't controlled by our wants or needs. His plan is the perfect one, and even one of his chosen 12 who turned spy and later betrayer could not change that plan. Judas would live out his spying mission. He would betray his teacher, and events would unfold. But that is a lesson for a later time. For now, this is a time for us to pause and look at our motives. Judas looked out for himself, even as he followed Jesus. What are you doing as you follow him? This Holy Week, be challenged to examine yourself. Are you spying, looking out for yourself, hoping to get what's best for you? Or are you seeking Jesus with open eyes, heart, mind, and spirit to follow him as he will lead? Only you can answer that question for yourself. As Holy Week continues, examine yourself.